Everyone, sorry we're a little late. Our executive session meeting went a little long. You all set, Archie? Yep. You all set, Joe? Yes. Okay, so we're going to open up our meeting. I have a couple of announcements. This meeting is being broadcast on local cable TV and recorded for rebroadcast on local cable channels and on the internet. Winter parking ban starts December 1st. It is in effect through April 30th, 2019. A side note, I'm not a big fan of it. Cultural Council is looking for community input to help improve, expand arts and cultural opportunities in town. Link to the survey available at the town's website, news and announcements, or on the Cultural Council page. Planning Board has an open person for an associate member. Any interested party should send a letter of interest to the Planning Board, the West Newbury Planning Board, or email the town planner, Leah Zamparini, at IZAM. You can get it on the town website. The Bicentennial Committee is mailing out invitations to the Black Tie Gala celebration on Saturday, February 23rd, 2019. Please keep watch for it in the mail and respond with a payment. Bicentennial Committee is buying a block of tickets for the Red Sox Day at Fenway Park. That will be a West Newbury Red Sox Day at Fenway Park for August 9th, 2019. If interested, please contact the committee. These are great Christmas gifts, Hanukkah or holiday gifts.
I went to the try-in one, and it was great. Really, so easy. Get on the bus, bang.
The buses will be here in West Newbury. We don't have to go down to Newburyport. And that's at, the email is wnbirthday@westwnewbury.org. Joe, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Archie? Angus or Mary? All set? Okay. Committee appointments. Request for appointment to the Personnel Advisory Committee. Paul, are you here? And we have Christine. Why don't you come on up, Paul? Right up here, please, sir. We have a tradition of when we put people on committees we really don't know or haven't been on, we ask them just to come in so we can put a face with a name, talk to them, and
could you slide that microphone over a little?
Yeah. And if you have any questions of us, and we probably might have some of you. Joe, do you have any questions to start off?
No, I mean, maybe you could just introduce yourself and how you are familiar with HR personnel.
Sure. Paul Boyer. I currently work for Shamet Design and Construction out of Boston. It's a commercial building company. And I'm in the HR department. My role is as manager of the HR information systems. So I oversee the systems that we use for managing the personnel in the company. We have about 1,400 employees, and the systems include things around benefits, compensation, talent management, which includes performance management and succession planning, workforce planning, learning management systems, all that. And I participate in strategy and designing and all that. And I've been in the HR business a little bit before. I've been at Shamet for about 5 years. And prior to that, I was actually in software development for a while and helped develop HR systems in the healthcare space.
So you're on the IT side of
I was
HR.
on the IT side prior to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you.
Good. Archie?
No, that sounds excellent.
Why do you want to get involved with the town?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't really done much to help the town. I've been living here for a while. I figured this was something that might suit my skills and be able to finally help with something locally.
That sounds excellent.
Understand that it's not paying and there's no pension.
Yeah. No.
It's 100% of what you get paid.
Yeah. 100 times zero.
Okay.
Zero.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you coming in, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Christine? Hi.
Hello.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
I have been employed with the federal government for about 20 years, just over 20 years. In part of my roles, I was intern coordinator for the New England field or New England area, which covered our 6 states. And that comprised of interviewing students, placing them throughout New England. So I would work with the students in coordination with our headquarters, human resources, in advertising, in hiring, and placing the students. In addition to that, I've been on hiring panels, interviewing new employees, and the recruitment process of new employees. I'm also a trained EEO counselor. So if there's any allegations of discrimination with some of our employees, I'll act as counselor and work through some kind of process where we can resolve it or guide them in the filing process if it has to go forward.
Have you had any sexual harassment training in that respect?
So it covers sexual harassment, any kind of discrimination that the employee feels as though they're being discriminated in sexual harassment. And then in that situation with the sexual harassment, we would refer it over to another division with our company.
Don't we have an opening for a female member of sexual harassment or not? We used to have 2, a female and a male.
Oh, I think that's, where's Mike? I think that's true. Yes, that is true.
Does that person have to be an employee or no?
No, it wasn't before. It was Peg Dushman before. Can you explain that position, Mike? Please. Mike is our town council, town clerk. For people who don't know his.
Under our personnel policy, anyone who feels that they've been subject to a sexual harassment can make a complaint to a grievance officer. The town bylaws suggest that we have 2 of them so that people have a choice. Usually,
2 of them being 1 male and 1 female.
well, it doesn't say you have to be that, but
Okay.
most of the time that's what the boards have done. And so the idea would be is that in the event that an employee felt that they would be able to have recourse by going to the officer and basically confidentially stating, what they feel, and then the officer would be, empowered to, make an investigation, which would then, have different avenues that could be pursued after that.
Investigation with the town, that sounds like a lot of responsibility for one. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to convince her to do this, not shy away from it. Okay, I guess not.
I guess the good news is that we haven't had much need for the services.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Okay. Well, forget about that. Okay. But people want to volunteer, and we all have our own, unique, experiences that they can lend a help to the town. So it was just kind of triggered something. Do you have any questions about the personnel committee? We're looking for only one member. Is there any reason why we can't have more than 3 people?
So according to the personnel bylaw, the personnel advisory committee shall be composed of such a number of members for such periods of time as the Board of Selectmen shall so determine. So it does not actually prescribe the membership of the committee.
I think more is better in this.
I think in this case, more would be better.
Okay.
So, okay.
Yeah. Do you have any? Excuse me. Do you have any questions of us? I didn't ask you that.
No.
Why don't you do it, Joe, please?
I move to appoint Christine Tierney and Paul Boyer to the Personnel Advisory Committee for a term ending June 30th, 2019.
Second. It's been moved by Joe, seconded by Archie. Any discussion? The discussion would be that if it's in the affirmative, that you guys would have to be sworn in by Mike, and then take a ethics thing that the state makes us do for conflict of interest. It's an online course. it gives you a certificate, then you have to have that on file. Everybody has to do it, even elected officials, anybody who serves on a board or a committee in town. It's a state requirement. Anything else? And you have all their information, the information obviously was on their application.
So,
Angus?
the reason, and what about the term?
June 30th, 2019.
So we want to end it just.
They're one-year appointments.
They're 1 year?
Full appointments end on June 30th, yes.
Okay.
And I would just note that, sometimes we shy away from even-numbered committees, but where this is purely an advisory committee and everything they would be doing is advising the board, I don't personally see any issue with a
Giving your
even-number number.
expertise on certain things, just telling us how to help.
More is better.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Thank you for coming in, and thanks for, volunteering. Welcome.
And I would also note that the next meeting of the Personnel Advisory Committee is expected to be this Thursday. This Thursday at 7:30. So I'll send you both the agenda and materials. That is, I think we're 95% sure of that. It's not posted yet, but I think it's going to be Thursday evening. So.
But obviously, if you can't make Thursday, everybody
Yeah,
understands.
don't worry about it.
Yeah, you won't lose any demerits, and you get all the backup materials, so.
Thank you.
Okay? Yep, take care. Okay, next. We're gonna, appointment to the Bicentennial Committee. Jocelyn? Yep, there we go. How are you? I'm doing well. So I guess you kind of saw how it's gonna go, so if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and...
I'm Jocelyn Bassett. I've been a resident of West Newbury for about 18 months.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you. I work for a consulting company in the Seaport in Boston. We do a lot of IT, digital design, development projects, and I oversee our relationships with our larger clients. Before that, I was in project management, and before that, I worked for a big multinational advertising agency, and I traveled like 300 days out of the year doing tech directorship. So I've kind of seen a lot of different facets of preparing events and moving things through big systems and small systems at the same time. And I also was a volunteer and on the board of the directors for a nonprofit in Somerville for several years for dogs and their owners in a city space, and leading education efforts and putting on events for people that they could bring their dogs to. And we did a lot of raising of money for different charities and things around town related to animals, and we also were able to go into local schools and actually teach kids about how to greet dogs and things like that, and it brought the overall bite issues that we're having in the city down significantly, so it was a big success. And I loved volunteering because I got to know a lot of people in the city and understand a little bit more about my neighbors, and so I was looking for an opportunity to do the same thing now that I've moved up here.
Do you want to ask her the question, since we have something on the agenda about dogs? During those, during those events, did your dogs have to be leashed?
Yes.
Thank
no
you.
retractable leashes, and
No,
has to be on leashes, yeah.
I'm just kind of,
But open space for dog recreation is very important.
it's one of my points where I thought I'm funny, so I have to do it. I think I'm funny. I'm not saying that I am.
Dogs are important. You got to be careful.
Oh, well, I have too. Okay, any questions?
Nope.
You have any questions of us?
I do not. I've actually been sitting in on the meetings in September, so I'm pretty up to
Yeah.
speed.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do we have a limit on the number of people on that committee? You put this application in September?
Yeah, there was a little bit of a mix-up in the office about when I was supposed to appear versus when I put that in.
Okay, sorry. I just saw that and I said, you've been waiting this long for this. You want to volunteer?
I've been participating.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And I did the certificate online last weekend.
Look at you go. Okay. Joe?
I move to appoint Jocelyn Bassett to the Bicentennial Committee for a term ending June 30th, 2019.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much for coming in. Elise Grammer, I don't think she's here, but we know her and because she's been on a bunch of committees, so Joe, you want to take
I move
that?
to appoint Elisa Grammer to the Energy Advisory Committee for a term ending June 30th, 2019.
Been moved and seconded. She might be actually down in the foyer because they were meeting down there earlier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, who's here for what? Please. So I'm gonna try to make people's nights. Okay, got it. Okay, I assumed all that. So if it's okay with everybody else, instead of having everybody sitting here, unless everybody wants to, and have us talk about car license renewals, town policy on rental facilities, discussion on the new school funding, continued review of draft updates on open space and recreation plan, discussion of CPC timeline, designation of town manager for monitoring agent responsible for, If anybody doesn't mind, but I have to be good because then the open space also is here, I think, tonight. So if we can take, if it's okay with everybody, we can go down to the town manager updates and take, item J. If that's okay with everybody? Joe?
Yeah.
Archie? Angus? Okay with you?
Yep.
Awesome. So I'm gonna change the agenda around a little bit, and we're gonna go to town manager's updates, number J. Angus?
So, back on October 15th, the board had given me direction to see to it that signage would be installed in the vicinity of the Indian Hill Reservoir, Molten Reservoir, and so I followed up with the board in the week or two that followed to verify the location of the signs and the language that you wanted to appear on the signs. So we've been moving forward with that. We did have the signs delivered about a week and a half ago. They had a typo, so we put it on hold. And by that point, I had been contacted by local residents with some concerns about whether the language on the signs went beyond the language in the animal bylaw. So I felt it would be good to make sure we're following the policy direction the board would like with regard to both the language on the signage, the location, and also the policy question with regard to the bylaw.
Can you expand a little bit on the Newbury Port part of it, since one of the two pieces of property is owned by the city?
Yes, so there's one of the abutting land parcels, which I gather is the place where there is a lot of walkers and people with dogs, is owned by the city of Newburyport, abutting their reservoir. And so I reached out to Mayor Holliday initially back in October, set out the situation. She responded, said, "It sounds fine." I followed up with her again. We spoke last week. I wanted to make sure that she was aware that there have been questions raised regarding the sign language relative to the sign in the bylaw. And just for those not familiar, the sign, I'm sorry, I said sign bylaw. The animal bylaw refers to any dog which is not held firmly on a leash or under the immediate control of the owner. And so the suggestion that's come in is the language requiring leashes arguably goes beyond that language of the bylaw. So Mike McCarron has advised, I don't want to speak for him, but he's advised that for the land owned by the town, that it's within the Board of Selectmen's authority as care and custody of that parcel to put in signage, even if it goes beyond the bylaw. With regard to enforcement on land not owned by the town, and specifically this piece owned by Newburyport, he's advised that Newburyport's consent should be obtained prior to installation of signage on their property or any enforcement action. So I spoke with the mayor. Her primary concern was any kind of dog waste or dog droppings, and she suggested the DPW director contact their water and superintendent, so the two of them met out on site last week. And there were dog droppings that hadn't been picked up, but I haven't circled back with her to take it further. I wanted to hear from you.
Okay, so now, that's the background, I think, and the legal, avenue that we were able to take to be able to make more restrictive leash laws other than our bylaws. So I would assume that there's some people here that would like to talk on behalf of the signs, for or against. I'm not sure which are, but raise your hand. Lark, would you please come up? Yeah. When you do, please, I know Lark, but could you state your name just
Sure,
for Mary, please, for the minutes?
I'm Lark Madden, live at South Street for the last 35 years. My wife Annie and I have enjoyed both walking, our own walking and walking our dogs on the reservoir pathway. And I'm here tonight to ask you as selectmen to reconsider your policy. There's a community of walkers who have used that path, which is Newbury Port property, for decades. And I understand that the basis of this policy decision is that there have been some complaints about dogs that are out of control, and maybe some people who have been scared by or even hurt by dogs.
Correct.
And we understand that that's a serious issue. But I would suggest that the vast majority of the people who use the path for their own exercise and for the exercise of their dogs are responsible. And I think that I would be joined by a number of the folks who are here in the room and also others who use that path in just saying that this is an overreach. That I think that the bylaw says keep your dog under control or keep it on a leash. And I think if the sign said something like West Newbury requires that you keep your dog under control, that would be perfectly fine. But requiring that every single person who walks a dog out there puts their dog on a leash is a big requirement. It's a big change in the way that people have used that space for years and years and years. I just want to register with you guys that I think, you know, the complaints of one or two people are driving a change in the use and enjoyment of that space for dozens and dozens and dozens of people. So I wanted to propose the idea of some kind of a compromise on the sign that would let people know and clean up after your dog and keep your dog under control. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Annie and I had a dog that was aggressive with other dogs, and we always leashed that dog. We never let that dog out of our control. We had other dogs who were absolutely the friendliest dogs in the world, and we felt that leashing them was not necessary, and it never was. So I just would ask you guys to think about it a little bit. I think the bylaw is quite unclear in terms of whether or not, to me, as to whether or not you have purview over Newburyport land. That's a sort of technical and legal question. And the mayor agreeing that you can put a sign up doesn't constitute authority for you to create a bylaw where a bylaw doesn't exist. That's a different issue, and I sort of don't want to push on that too much, but I do want you to think carefully about whether you need to sort of land on this in the way you have. Because I think there's a bunch of people who really enjoy the space and who would be very, very unhappy if they had to leash their dog every time they went there. I know of one person who goes there to get exercise for their dog, and they themselves are not actually capable of leashing the dog. They themselves go for exercise. The dog's a big dog. The dog likes to run. The dog's perfectly well behaved. But if you require this person to put the dog on a leash, they're going to have to stop. They can't go there anymore. They have to find some other place. I just would also point out, I know there's a leash requirement in the parking lot at Mill Pond, but there's not a leash requirement, within the Mill Pond space. You let your dogs run around out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess if you want to, impose.
We're getting a ton of complaints about that because all the other surrounding towns require that. Like if you go to Maudsley, if you go to all the places.
We're like a destination.
We're a destination spot now for, people who, and I don't care. People always say, well, it's for out-of-towners, but we share this world together. So
I completely agree with that.
So, I mean, I don't care about people coming because I go to Maudsley,
Sure.
and I walk my dog, but they have to be on a
I
leash.
heard a comment that, people were concerned there were people from quote-unquote away using the space, and I found that very offensive, that people from all over the place that use that space, and they should use that space. It's not our space to be restrictive about. I just want you guys to think carefully about whether you want to impose this on everybody who brings a dog down there. I think people who have, the bylaw, as I read it, says, somebody who complains about a dog, they should go to the control officer. The control officer has authority in the bylaw to talk to those people and make sure their dog is safe. and fine them if their dog isn't behaving well. That makes great sense to me. If somebody's threatened by a dog and they want to report it, there's a whole mechanism in our bylaw for dealing with that. But just sort of blanket, everybody has to have their dog on a leash, just seems like overreach.
Well, Mark, I can say from personal experience, not when I've been down there running or whatever, I've had dogs go after me. I wasn't the personal complaint. I didn't care. But I can imagine other people.
On that property?
On that property, yes. I can imagine other people being concerned about that. I have seen a lot of dog waste there. And what concerns me the most, actually, is we're talking about a public water supply there. There's no swimming, there's no boating allowed in that thing, and yet I've seen people with the little tennis ball launchers and whatever. They bring their dog there deliberately in the summer so the dog can go swimming in the reservoir. And humans can't go swimming in the reservoir, but I find it inappropriate that the dogs are unleashed dogs are doing that, and people are. It's not that the dogs are under control. People are deliberately doing that, obviously, because they bring the tennis ball and the launcher and everything.
So I just would respond to that by saying the following. When it's 100 degrees outside and high humidity, and you have a dog who likes to swim, that's a great place for a dog to swim. And the Board of Selectmen...
But it's not the correct place to swim.
Excuse me. I don't know that I've not heard any complaints from Newburyport about the quality of the water being affected at all by dogs. And I would remind you guys, there's 500 geese and turtles and salamanders and all kinds of other stuff. It's not a sterile environment.
Okay, first of all, I'm not going to speak for Archie, but maybe I'm going to try and say that I don't think Archie's point was about that we're contaminating the water supply. I think Archie's point was there are a lot of not responsible dog owners that are breaking the law down there. You're a responsible dog owner. It sounds like you handle it properly, but you can't expect everyone to do that because they don't, and it's not a couple of complaints that we've gotten. This has been over several years, and it's kind of come to a head now. So, I'm sorry that some ruin it for a few ruin it for the masses, but it's, you explain wonderful situations to people because you're a responsible individual, Lark, but everybody's not.
I'll just go back to my earlier point. I think that if you put a sign up that says, keep your dog under control and clean up after your dog, that is to me, that's perfectly reasonable. I think if you put a sign up that says, you have to leash your dog if you're going to walk here, first of all, I don't think you have the authority to do it. I honestly don't. You're on Newburyport land, not on West Newbury land. And Mike's opinion notwithstanding, I don't believe you have the authority to do it. I believe that it takes a change in the town's bylaw, which takes a 2/3 vote at town meeting. So I just would put that on the table. I don't think it's valid.
We've researched that pretty well. You're not correct.
I understand what Mike's opinion is, but you're on Newburyport land, and Newburyport can't set West Newbury bylaws.
But you're on their land. So if they're agreeing with a joint venture of trying to keep the dogs under control, I mean, we have the same dog officer also. I don't know if you know that we have a combined Newburyport and West Newbury dog officer. We've had that for maybe 4 or 5 years now.
Well,
I mean, we've done all our homework on it.
I've said my piece. I think you guys are way overreaching, and I think you're creating an enormous amount of ill will with a bunch of responsible dog walkers down at the reservoir. And I think you should reconsider. I would ask you respectfully to think about a less harsh solution to this problem. But I think Glenn is absolutely right. The complaints of a few are driving something that is not acceptable and makes a lot of people really unhappy.
So I don't go down there, obviously. I don't go down there. When I walk my dogs, I generally go to Maudsley. I don't know why, I just do it. I don't even go to Mill Pond. I don't even know why I don't do that. We just seem to go to Maudsley. So in like 30 seconds, you're the one who experiences down there. You're a responsible person. I know you've made... I listened to the, your earlier things about like making it not as stringent. So give me a solution that would work. That because you're the one down there.
I think if you put a sign up that said West Newbury requires that you keep your dog under control at all times, and please clean up all dog litter, that gets you where you need to be. People who don't, I'll tell you one thing, folks who don't have control over their dogs, get talked to by the rest of us. I mean, the folks who walk down there will.
I can understand that. I
come
do
up
the
to
same
somebody
thing.
and say, hey, this dog is terrifying that child, or this dog is scary. Get your dog under control. So that's sort of self-policing in a lot of ways. I don't like it when people pick up dog poo in a plastic bag and leave it there. Whose job is it to pick that stuff up? I mean, it's horrifying to me.
Well,
They put it in a plastic bag, but maybe the sign also should say, take
Take it
your
with you.
plastic bags
No,
out of here.
it's worse if they put it in the plastic bag and leave it there.
Right.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't decompose
Then
into
it
the
doesn't
soil.
decompose and
Yeah.
it sits there
Yeah,
for.
well, but they got, so I think, Glenn, to your question, I would wholeheartedly support something that said, West Newbury requires that you keep your dog under control, clean up after your dog, and pack out your plastic bags. Take your plastic bags home. I don't think anybody who walks down there would be offended by that.
That seems like a good compromise.
We're listening. Okay, thank you, Lark.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Sir, Mr. Jesse?
My name is Jesse Calfell. I've been living in West Newbury for about 22 years, and I have walked my dog there for about 10 years. I've had no problems, but I understand both sides of the issue that you guys are discussing. So I have some suggestions that I wrote. So let's just, something that I've seen in other towns in terms of dog waste.
Are you giving us something, or are you just going to read it?
I might, depending on.
I didn't know if I should take notes, or if you're going to...
I can.
It looks like you were going to give me something. So
I can, but let me go through this.
Okay.
First, okay. So I've been to towns where they actually have a plastic dispenser for dog waste. And it's something that people can pull out of a dispenser and take with them. So that's something that I know a lot of towns have. So
We have that at Mill Pond.
I'm sorry?
We have that at Mill Pond?
Okay. I don't know.
We do.
Okay, so we could do that. The other thing is we could have a some kind of trash barrel for people to take their dog waste out and make that part of whatever signage it is. So that might take care of the plastic encased poop that doesn't do anything but stay mummified for who knows how long. In terms of, there was a comment that Lark made. I know that there's some people, elderly people, that do walk their dogs around the reservoir, and they're rather fragile, and they like to let their dog off the leash because, as Lark said, they can't, it's hard for them to hold on to the dog, so it gives them the ability to walk and also have their dog have some exercise.
Can I ask a question about that, or you want to finish your whole statement? Is it because I've only been out there once with my mountain bike, and I've gone through and I've gone up on the other side to the Indian Hill, that the conservation restriction that we have. Is it because it's flat?
Yes.
Is that because it's a nice flat area? It's a nice walk rather than going in Mill Pond where there's roots and there's stuff like that. So it's better.
Very easy, flat.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
So here's an idea for a sign which might not be so draconian. So, point one. If your dog has a history of being aggressive with other dogs or people, consider not walking here. Okay? Because there are people that bring pit bulls with scars. I've heard of those, that should...
But to give you, just to play devil's advocate, those are the people that always say, oh, my dog loves everybody. They always say that.
As he's looking at me.
Well,
when a pit bull looks at me, he looks, this is a big lunch. You know what I mean? They attack me.
You can, I'm suggesting some wording that...
Number two.
Okay? And then part of that number one is you would have personal liability risks. Okay? All right. Number two, if you're walking a dog, be sure you are in control of the dog, whether on a leash or not. Number three, if your dog is off leash, be sure you can call your dog to you as needed. If you see people coming towards you and your dog is off leash, ask them if they would like to have your dog leashed. Okay? That happens, that's a courtesy. Some people are a little freaked out. Okay. If you see people coming towards you with children and your dog is off leash, have your dog leashed to be sure there are no unexpected interactions. Okay? That takes some liability away. If a sign is posted at the reservoir, include these guidelines. I made my point about people that who are frail. So the other question I have is...
Can we go back to you before you move on? Can we
Sure.
talk about your sign?
Yeah.
So, I don't mean to make light of it, but right off the bat, no one's going to read that sign. It's too wordy. And second of all, the only person that would read it, I'm like a rule follower in that respect. I'd read it, but I'm a responsible dog owner to begin with, so I would be taken care of. The people that we're trying to curb is just a big sign that says, boom, 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 rather than nobody will take time. But there are some good suggestions within that. I don't want you to think, you know what I mean by that though? Because it would take somebody who's responsible to read that. And the people that are doing what they're doing that we have to now get this surveyor are not responsible people.
You're supposing, you're making a supposition that people don't read, right?
Okay.
So, the sign is there, how much they,
How much they take in, it might be worth it if they read one or two lines.
If there are fines involved with leaving your trash, your dog poop behind, then you have the right to penalize them for that. So I have some other questions. So we've talked about dogs. What about horses?
You want to take the horse people on? I don't.
Hey,
I've said for years that they should pick up after themselves at Mill Pond. Maybe that's the reason why I don't go up there, because I used to step in it and I was screamed and yelled at and said it's organic. I said, what's wrong with my dog eats raw food? And they said, well,
what's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's good for the dog is good for the horse. The horses
I would agree
still
with you.
have impose risk.
I would agree with you.
Impose, poopiness. So, there should, why not?
A lot of poopiness going on.
Why don't we talk about that?
We're only responding to complaints. We hadn't had
A horse complaint.
equine.
Well, can I make it a horse complaint now?
Are there horses up there? Are there horses up there, all kidding aside?
Yes.
Okay. I don't go there, I'm sorry.
No, I'm telling you.
I'm not, I was quite open. I was only been there once on my mountain bike.
In the summer, you will see.
And you can tell it was a while ago.
You can see many people riding horses, trotting through.
That's a very tight, narrow place to traverse with a horse.
I didn't hallucinate it.
Yeah, no.
No, I think he's agreeing with you.
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
I have a dog that I walk there,
Okay,
so
then.
I don't have an objection.
He
to what you're
lives
saying.
near there. He lives near there. I know you live near there, right? I don't live near there. That's why if I have to walk my dog like that, I get into a car and maybe we just go out to lunch at Maudsley or Newburyport, and that's why I go to Maudsley. I have no clue. But these guys live near there.
I'm just making an equine
Gotcha.
comment. If you have dogs that people are complaining about, what about horses? They're much bigger than dogs, and they can certainly hurt people.
Very much so.
So
Okay.
that's all.
Now, hold on. Marge, you coming up? Anybody else who want to speak after Marge? Anything new information? Okay, because I have some suggestions about a few things. I love dog stuff because we'll talk about $151 million funding on a school and nobody shows up. As soon as we talk about dogs, everybody's here. Yeah, so you ever try, the worst thing that I ever had to do as a selectman is tell somebody they had to get rid of their vicious dog. I thought the guy was going to kill me. Okay, hi Marge.
Well, I have a question.
Marge Peterson.
First of all, I'm wondering how many complaints you've actually had over there. I've walked my dog for 10 years, and I let her go off leash. She's very friendly and generally is very well behaved.
Over the years, we've had a little bit, Marge, all kidding aside, but it's escalated.
But how many, though, Glenn? I mean,
I
what
honestly
is the
don't know,
count?
but I'm gonna be very honest with you, it's about dogs and about vicious people with their
Well,
dogs.
that's what I was gonna say. It's not
I'm gonna be-
always the dogs. There's been some verbal
With their
abuse.
vicious,
Well, there's been
not
verbal
vicious dogs,
abuse.
but they're dogs that are just totally under control,
And I know,
out of control.
And I know personally one person who was bit by a dog over there. That dog was on a leash and lunged at this person on the leash.
Mhm.
So I think it really is a matter of responsible people versus people who don't take responsibility for the animals. I don't think leashing all the dogs over there is a necessary or a good thing. It's a very friendly walk. People go there every day, and you see Jesse, I call him the mayor of the reservoir. He is over there all the time.
So why isn't he cleaning up the poop?
But that leads me to another point. Why hasn't Newburyport taken responsibility for their reservoir and their water? If they,
Have you seen their sidewalks?
I
They're not coming over here to take
understand
care
that,
of
but
us.
suddenly West Newbury is concerned about their poops. Now, I do pick up after my dog,
Yeah.
but,
We're buying the water from them. If they can't take care of it, we have to take care, we're eventually buying that.
you know...
I don't
and-
think that's the problem. I don't, honestly,
Well,
I never
personally, I
thought
think
about
it
that.
kind of is. If you go up
Well, it's
to
both
Lake
now.
Champlain in Burlington, South Burlington, they have signs all over about,
okay,
you know,
I think we,
refuge from dogs,
I wanna
being
make
close
some
to the water
suggestions.
and respond.
everybody that's been here, right, and made some great ideas about, because I thought the same thing about having a trash barrel, but I'm a functional person. Now that trash barrel has to be emptied.
And people come over,
Yeah,
oh, I think
so-
I'll empty my
But, okay,
car and
yep,
everything
so
else,
that
and
has
then
to
it
be,
overflows.
yeah, but that has to be emptied. We need some more, it sounds like we need some more policing out there. So maybe if people see our dog officer randomly, like a policeman walks the beat, maybe he sees them just kind of walking through there every once in a while to be able to get the idea. If we have a good fixed sign with the same things that we have up at Mill Pond with the bags and so forth and so on, that has to be maintained. So everybody that's doing that, those are awesome ideas, and maybe all those things will work. So everybody will be at Springtown meeting when we propose all these things for increased funding for the dog officer, so we can make routine things there and policing it better, to make sure that we have enough staff and we take care of it up there in the signage, and we have the proper DPW people to be able to empty the barrels, to be able to do it right. If everybody wants to do that, and we can put a little bit of money, town money, but that means taxes, right? I have no problem with all these suggestions, because then we have a better control over it over there, and it's not the Wild West. And obviously, Mayor, you're not doing your job.
Give me an auxiliary support staff with a badge.
And a gun?
No guns.
I'm
No
a
guns.
charming guy like you.
There you go.
Here you are.
Okay, hold on. Come on. No, yeah, once he has it. No, come on up, it's the microphone, that's the thing.
Just a suggestion on maybe certain hours that are on leash, off leash, just like they do with the beaches in the summer or winter. You know,
Like
certain
after
hours.
5 o'clock at the beach, you can bring your dog without a leash.
But I mean, obviously you don't have to do it after 5 o'clock here.
No, but I was giving you as an
Yeah,
example.
Yeah, but just something similar to that, so people know that, hey, if I go up there, this is off leash time, or if I go up there, this is time that they need to be on the leash.
So if you want to go up there when there's off-leash time, you know, and you don't like it, that's your own fault, because you picked that time. Maybe.
So that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, Lark?
I just had a question. You seem to suggest, Glenn, in your last comment, that at town meeting, there might be a construct, which was, I guess, proposed by the selectmen, which would involve, you know, increased hours for the animal control officer, sort of a structure that would cost money. And what I want to know is there, who is it that's going to formulate that policy? Because if the policy becomes one of taxes versus no taxes, that changes the argument completely, and it really kind of, in some ways, it baffles me that that's kind of the only way we could frame this. I think the suggestions that you've gotten are make a simpler, less draconian, a less tough sign, And that accomplishes an awful lot of, I think, what people are concerned about. It warns people to take care of their dogs, and control their dogs. It tells people to clean up after themselves. We just heard people get bitten by dogs on leashes, so I'm not sure leashing your dog is necessarily a solution. So trying to get people consciousness raised about control is good.
But you understood my point about, because everything costs money.
Well,
and then the first thing
we doesn't cost much money.
No, but I understand that, but I'm talking about more policing, more on, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Oh, hold on for 1 second. So what about a solution that we, get a little bit more aggressive with the signage we have, but not as, as you have to put your license, not, you don't have to put your, dog on a leash.
Doesn't have to say verboten.
Yeah, but give them some rules and some stuff and say, look up the bylaws, you're gonna be fined if you don't follow these procedures, so forth and so on. And then give it a trial thing for a year and see what happens and see how many complaints we get. And then we've all tried.
Yep.
And then we'll document all the complaints, so it's not like, oh, my neighbor told me this, and I was at a cocktail party and somebody said I got chased by a dog, and it's all verifiable. If you have a complaint, sometimes people don't like to use their names. I've been approached 3 different people, right, that have complaints, 3 different people, one that lives in the area, 2 who don't, who have been abused by dogs that are off their leash. They're very private people. I'm being truthful with you. They come to me, and like a lot of people come to me, they don't like the complaint, they don't want to be the ones who maybe ruin it, but they know that they'd be confident with me, and then I would pass it on. I was the one, I'll tell you right now, who started this with those 3 complaints. And then we started researching it over a period of time. And Archie let in because he, with his experience, and that's where we've got.
So just to respond, I would support the idea that we have a trial period with a less draconian sign, and we make people who are in that dog walker community aware of the fact that they're being kind of watched, because if it doesn't work out, it might get tougher in terms of the control. I would support that idea. I think that's a fine idea. But I don't support the idea that we turn it into a tax question.
No, I didn't mean that.
Okay.
I didn't mean that we're gonna, hey, we're gonna raise your taxes so you can walk your dog off the leash. I didn't mean. Okay. But you understand by that. I was kind of being facetious in some respect. But the first thing that our DPW people is, well, who's gonna empty the barrels?
Well,
you know what I mean?
I'm not sure you need a barrel.
But I was just using it.
Glenn, the idea at most parks and things now is not having barrels. It's like
yes, so they don't
carry out, because like beaches and so forth, they end up with more trash and a bigger problem than they had. It's better. If you're going to deal with it, you got to bring it out.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
That's what happens.
A barrel's just a target.
Yeah.
And they generally, like at the boat launch where I have my boat, there are no barrels because they don't want you to come off your boat, clean out your car, put all your stuff in the barrel and go away. I would agree with not the barrel, just for that reason. Okay. Anything? I think we've beat this one to death without being...
Let's not say that.
Okay. I think we've got enough information. One thing, the best thing about small town government is when we make a decision, we think we're maybe making the right decision, people come to a meeting and they speak and it changes people's mind, and because we all have to live in this community. So thank you for coming out. I really hope you're all here for the, the most boring parts of, renewing car license and stuff like that. But come more often, please. So thank you. So what do you want to do?
So the conclusion is to basically accept his Lark's recommendation.
Well, let's not give Lark all the credit. Jesse had some good suggestions too. Marge had some good stuff too. Let's spread it around.
I don't know, but I'm not I don't know how government...
Excuse me, I didn't know how long you're going to be, sorry. It's for the people...
My follow-up question.
Yeah.
So you've heard some interesting ideas, you have your own ideas. It sounds like you're open to changing some of the wording. How do we find out what that wording is before the sign goes up?
So, if you want to come to another meeting, you could come to it, or to make it, I don't know. We need to have a discussion, then we have to give some direction to Angus, and Angus is probably going to want to have some feedback into it. we could make something up. We would then agree with it with Angus. If you want to, the easiest thing for you would probably leave your information in email with Mary, and we could email the proposed sign out to you, or we could say, we're going to put this on a future agenda, and come on in and talk to us about it.
Yeah, well, I think, most of the people, the dog people are here. A lot of dog people are here. Just bark if you're...
What do you think?
So can you circulate that?
What would you...
I can take that.
What would you like to do?
So I've got a sign, I'm just gonna ask that if people want to sign up and just put your email, and then we'll just send you an update the next time this will be on a meeting.
Yep.
Right, so I think we'll be working to get the language right, and,
And it's status quo, I guess, now, correct? You can so there are no signs up yet?
no, they came in with a typo, so they said affect instead of effect.
You would, I would have been, you would have
He's a resident grammar guy.
This way.
Okay, so we're gonna move on, if that's okay?
Yeah.
With everyone?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's go back to the original,
Red one.
business. So, Class 2 used car license renewals. Angus?
Actually, Mary did the screening on this one, so I'll turn it over to her.
Hey, Mary?
You have 3 renewals coming in tonight. One's for the Main Street Auto, the other's for Crane Neck Auto, and the other is Pearson's Automobile.
What?
Automotive, sorry. They're all, they have submitted all the documentation. Everything is in order.
So this is for the calendar year 2019.
That's correct.
Make a motion that we approve all.
Well, you want me to say it?
let's, like, Main Street Auto, Pearson Automotive, and,
Crane Neck,
Crane Neck.
time frame 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Town policy on rental and town facility, review of insurance requirements for individuals. This is an update kind of on, in case you guys met with Maya.
We did.
Okay, how's it go?
So their advice is that if we are making the facilities available, whether for charge or not for charge, that we continue to require an insurance certificate. They did sketch out a somewhat of an alternate path through the so-called TULIP policy, tenant user liability insurance policy. So that's something that the town, if we chose to, would put in place on specific facilities. Those facilities would...
Is there a cost to the town?
Yeah, there would be a cost.
Do you know how much, or did they say?
No, they didn't say.
And I mean, that's like,
Right.
Is it minimal or is it huge? I mean,
She described that it would be fairly modest. Then what would happen is once that is in place on specific venues, that any renter would pay us basically a surcharge for their specific event.
Rather than doing their own binders
so,
themselves.
so like, if it was 200 and we had 10 events, everybody would chip in 20 or something or whatever.
Right. Yeah, we just got the details on this TULIP policy on Thursday, so no, we haven't researched pricing.
So does Maya have knowledge that other communities do similar things, or they just pass it off? This isn't a Maya policy, is it?
Correct. No, it would be a different provider. That's not something they
Insurance
offer.
on insurance, so the liability, that they don't have liability. So, is this for, are they suggesting that we have insurance on people who pay for the facilities, or is it,
Both.
because we had that conversation, remember I asked you that question?
Yeah, we followed up with them with that question, and they said it didn't matter to them whether there was pay or not.
Okay. Do we know what the average amount somebody pays if they want to have, if a kid wants to have a birthday party there without any alcohol? Because we require it for alcohol no matter what.
For the facility itself?
Yeah.
120, I believe, is...
Up to 200.
Depending on probably how many kids or what the event is or something like that?
Exactly.
Or the venue.
And the venues are?
Typically, The annex or the old town hall would be the two that
The
people would
town hall,
look to.
or the annex, okay? Okay. So, we can do this, we can say, we can get part of this tulip thing, if we want to continue to be in the rental business, or anybody who and this basically has to do with people who want to have birthday parties and stuff like that, they're private people.
We can't have a rodeo, which I'm bummed.
Oh, you can't? Thought that was gonna be part of the bicentennial thing. But because people like the garden club, the people like the Boy Scouts, the people, organizations, they have all their own insurance, correct?
Yes.
So this is, Mr. and Mrs. Smith who live on Main Street,
Birthday party.
who wants to have a birthday party, or they want to have we've had graduation parties, we've had Halloween parties, and so forth and so on.
People
That's all the things that are listed here, Glenn, that they do cover. Just anniversaries, bar mitzvahs, charity fundraising event, charity auction, stuff. So stuff that we do anyway.
It's for people that it would be burdensome for, so I think a next step is to find out what the cost is. I mean, if we know that, we really can't do anything.
Yeah, or we say that, it's your obligation to do it because we're turning into a rental facility, quite honestly. This is unbelievable how much we rent these things out. Can you give me that figure again?
It's over 500 was last year, correct, Mike?
500 requests.
It was close to 500?
No, 500 things that we.
Events.
Events that we did.
That is rented, it is rented out.
Or rent it for free, but.
Waive the fee because it's a nonprofit.
You could offer catering.
And I'm not getting any of it.
They discriminate against certain kinds of business, though, and certain kinds of music, like.
Please, I don't want to start.
No, it's interesting. Concerts other than rap, hip hop, or heavy metal.
Yeah, I knew you were going down that line. That's why I asked you, I had a feeling. Country and Western's good, though. You can shoot your dog, kill your mother, your Chevy truck ran into your grandmother's house. That kind of music's fine. Okay, so my point being is, do we want to make it easier for people to rent these facilities and for our people to take care of it? Or do we want to say, hey, we're not in the rental business, we have some spaces here for people, and $120 for a big space like that comes with tables and chairs isn't that much of a burden on somebody, and let them do it. So it might cut down on a few things, or is it really gonna, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, Glenn, I'm thinking that this might cut down on the work of Mary and other people, like checking out, do you have insurance? I have to get the insurance. So now it might, if it was a moderate, reasonable
That's a good
cost,
point.
then
That's a
it's
very
like
good point.
it's all set up, and unless their event is on one of the prescribed kinds of things that are not allowed, then it's automatic that we do have coverage for it, so that we don't have to go through that. That's one less week that.
Well, we shouldn't be
have to
going,
go through.
We should just find out what it costs.
yeah, we shouldn't be going through the hoop. They should have the packet or the application complete when they give it to Mary. But I understand your point. I understand your point. I understand. So then, hypothetically, cost $1,000 a year to have this tulip thing. Please, it's hypothetically. So then we have to decide, no matter who rents it, it's no matter what, it can never be waived or anything like that. It's $30 a person. I mean, $30 an event, or no matter what event you have there, it's $40 or it's $50. You know what I mean? The insurance portion of it, and plus the rental fee or whatever we charge.
I see. Okay.
So we have to, so that comes down the line. So if you want to go that way, we have to determine if you want to make it simplistic and say, when they make it out, it is what it is, then we have to come up with some type of thing that we don't say, oh, well, they're only having 7 people, so it's $30. Well, why did they charge me $50? Because I had 200, but, you know what I mean? So, I don't mind the OA, but it just, on the application, it's $50 for insurance, no matter what. But we can't be losing money doing it either.
No.
So there has to be some cost analysis benefit involved, where we have to project how many events that we have had in the year that would have to have this, insurance, that they've gotten their own. Now we have this tulip thing, and then we probably have to then divide by that many people, because that would be an average over 3 years.
Well, let's do the work. Let's ask Angus or Mary to find out what it costs, find out how many events it would apply to, so we'll do the math and see if it's $20 or $10 or whatever it is.
Sounds good?
Well, just to be clear, the policy question before you tonight is really, do you want to stick with the current policy, which is that we require a certificate of insurance for every renter? The tulip is not, I mean, that's something that we've put on the table as something that I think could improve customer service, because instead of sending someone off to the market to get their own one-day policy, they'd be buying onto ours. And they would be doing so on a fee per event basis. It's not that that cost would be allocated. Their cost would be set. So that's...
I think that,
Well, let's
our
answer
job is to protect the assets of the town, and so to not require insurance, I think we're giving another avenue for the town to be protected, and I think we'd be remiss in not requiring it.
So your first question would be, yes, we have to have the policy until we change the policy, that we have to require insurance for everyone. Because this goes to, there are some expectations when you rent a place, even if you pay money or you don't, if you get a place, where the sidewalks need to all be shoveled a certain way. This is what the insurance people said. So the egresses have to be done. So if somebody, if they don't have the insurance and it snows 2 inches or 3 inches on a Saturday, that means we have to call in the DPW to make sure that those sidewalks are clear so people can get into the venue, correct? Because that's what the insurance person said.
That is what she said. She said that if we're taking money for the facility, that people have, a right to expect safety inside and out, and that would extend to snow and ice removal.
So with them having their own insurance, that covers us, in some respects.
No, the insurance wouldn't.
That insurance that they're getting only has to do with the inside of the event. If hypothetically Billy falls and breaks his arm doing the piñata, and the parents sue, so they would sue Mr. and Mrs. Smith for Billy's open, and they sue the town, or why? So if we're requiring people to get insurance, why are we doing that? And why is that? And why is our insurance company telling us? I know why they're insurance companies. They want more insurance, because if people have more insurance, it decreases their liability. Obviously, their exposure.
Well, the way she explained it was if the town did not, had ripped rugs or whatever, and Billy tripped over that, and so we didn't maintain a facility that was safe, then we could be called on our insurance. But if he hit a piñata and fell because of something he did at that function, that's not a town, we didn't do anything to create that situation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I go with Joe. Let's just look into it, right, and this tulip thing.
Find out what it costs.
Find out what it costs, but we have to have insurance for everybody who...
Okay.
And if you could write up a whole thing about this, because the exposure, I don't even know if this happens, and I'm sorry, I don't, I probably should. So if somebody has a party there on February 7th, and it snows, and it's a Saturday, and we have 4 inches of snow, are we making sure, and we know that there is a rental facility, and it's still on because there wasn't enough snow to cancel it, are we making sure we're calling somebody in at double time and a half, or whatever it is, to clear the sidewalks and making sure the parking lot's perfect for people to attend this event?
My understanding that has not been past practice, but that's where, with the new DPW director, that's exactly some of the issues we've been talking about, because he needs to understand the level of service expectation. and this will be my first winter too. So my understanding that has not happened in the past. But I think we do need to be paying attention to facilities that are rented on the weekends.
For 12, you know, I've been a selectman for 12 years, I think, 13, whatever it is. We've talked more about insurance in the last year and a half that I have in what was going on, what was going on for all those years. I'm glad that we still have a building and somebody hasn't sued us for it or something. I've never talked this much about insurance and the lack of what we're coverage. Really? We've never talked about it.
I think the usage has increased.
Yeah, glad you did have a little flood in the page, the insurance helped out.
See? And you thought there was no big thing on TV tonight or anything like that?
Just a couple of things. So I guess if you're providing a facility, it is going to be incumbent upon you to make sure that the entrances and whatever are clear. The other thing is on a weekend, if you're getting 4 or 5 inches of snow, a foot of snow, I would think it would be upon the town that say it's a town building, town buildings are closed. So unfortunately, that function would have to be canceled.
Well, that's the reason why I only said 4 inches. Well, I'm not trying to be facetious. I know I don't seem to be a joker sometimes, but I was trying to make a point where it's kind of not enough to close something, but it's enough to make it hazardous for people to walk around.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Okay, forget about that. Ice storm. Forget about the snow. There's an ice storm. It rained and then the temperature decreased 20 degrees.
Half an hour before the event.
Yep. These are all kind of rhetorical questions because I kind of knew the answers to them because I wanted to get them out for discussion.
So in the past, we have not had insurance on those buildings?
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. No, please don't, no.
No.
Don't print, please,
Yeah.
Jen, please don't print that.
Yeah. No, the issue,
No, it just seems to me that I've been a selectman for so long that in the last 2 years, we've never talked this much about insurance. I don't know why.
yeah,
So
but,
you're going to need insurance on the facility, and then the people holding the party, you're going to have negligence, insurance in case of.
But the good part about this is that you should have read the fine print that now you're on the insurance advisory committee too, other than the personnel committee. Because when you get up twice and talk about something, you're automatically on it.
yeah, part of the issue is that every time someone wants to use a facility for a birthday party and we let them know the insurance requirement, they're like, are you kidding? Really? Do I have to? And there's just a lot of pushback, and in fact, sometimes worse. And so we put it to we brought waiver requests before this board, and more recently, because there's kind of a critical mass, we just came seeking policy direction. We're getting a lot of pushback. Are we sure this is the right policy? And we checked it with our insurer, and that's their advice.
We're getting this, I'm not trying to, about the dogs, which is always good, because we have to try to do the letter of the law, and we have to do this. And so we're getting a lot of pushback, like we got pushback tonight about our signs, which was a good thing. So I think we have a good compromise, and we're going to work forward with that. But it's different when we're getting pushback by individuals and different organizations say, well, what are you talking about, you're having insurance? And then calling me at home, going, what are you trying to do, Glenn? We never had insurance. And then they just need some direction because we're getting pushback by citizens that, well, why do I need insurance for my kid's birthday party? Because our insurance requires you to have an additional insured for your kid's birthday party.
And then another question I was asked to ask. What other towns or what are other towns doing with their rentals?
You don't want to know because
We have more.
they're all coming here because everybody's saying no. The same way they all come to our places because we can let dogs off leashes. I'm not kidding. That's why our thing has gone up so much, because all these other places have been saying no, all these nonprofits. That's why we think about it.
Or their fees are much higher.
And their fees are much higher. And we've increased our fees just so, think about it. We're a town. We don't even have that many rooms. We have 500 things that happen in these rooms that people had facilities requests done.
Okay.
Because if you go down to the fairways, you have to do something, but if you have a party down here, it doesn't cost much. If you go to Chuck E. Cheese, it costs this much, but...
Residential fees and non-resident fees.
We have that.
We have that. we've tried, and we've increased, yep,
Increased them, and it.
increased it non-residential.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we've been talking about this for a while. But we've been more stringent on it, and that's why we're getting pushback by citizens, so Angus is saying, hey, you gotta give me some direction, because I'm getting phone calls. So, we have to, and the direction is, let's look into the other thing, I think, what you're hearing from us, and that, yes, everybody has to have insurance, because our insurance person is saying that we have to have insurance.
Okay. The one other item in the memo was, right now, we require 1 million occurrence, 3 million total. Our insurer did feel 3 million was above what she was used to seeing. Typically, it's 1 and 2. So in terms of pricing out the tulip, I need to know what the levels of coverage. Will we
Well, I would
stick
go
with the
1 and 2 then.
1 and 2? Is
By the
that?
insurance person.
Okay, good.
Unfortunately, pumpkin jerky is also. Damn.
But all kidding aside, you have to give that, what's not allowed under the tulip thing, to the people in that application. I mean, you do.
Right.
And so if their kids want to play rap music, or is it a rap concert?
A rap concert.
Okay.
Haven't had any of those.
Nope. So my rap name is West Newbury 300 Pounds of Love, so I can't have a concert here? Okay. Next.
And you can't tell fortunes either.
What is that? I gotta read this. Just for giggles, I have to read that list. Okay, what I'm gonna do, because, I'm gonna take another thing out of, and I'm sorry for not doing this, and you guys had to listen to insurance. Let's talk to the open space people. I'm sorry, I should have taken you right after,
We spent a lot of time.
I know. Sorry. Come on up. Continue review of draft updates to the open space and recreation plan. So I see that, you brought some backup, because they threw you to the dogs, and you were here by yourself. Okay.
I love insurance discussions, but.
Do you? I'm sorry to hear that. I would ask that when we talk, you get that microphone in front of you guys, please.
Closer.
Okay, you ready? Do you have anything more you'd like to talk about, or any more about the presentation, or do we want to start the conversation? Gentlemen? Ladies? How do you want to do it?
Well, I think we gave the feedback last week, so.
Did you receive it?
We did.
Okay.
And I had sent you a letter of reply, which you probably have in your packet.
Yep.
So you have our response to the observation that you didn't think we had addressed enough park and rec matters. And we are planning on, one of our members is meeting with Bill Backrack this week to relook at it and revise accordingly. And then I also responded to your observation about the lack of a priority parcel list.
Right.
And asked that whether or not those were the only comments you had on this particular draft. And if there are other comments, we'd like to have them as soon as possible, because we're collecting comments from other boards as well.
I had a few.
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I didn't. Go ahead.
You don't have any?
I said my 2 last week.
Oh.
Okay, thank you. Archie?
Yeah, reading just in terms of the comments about the number of parcels and stuff, in reading what the state is looking for, I can see that they sort of want all encompassing thing, so I get that.
But can I ask a question though? So that's the state requirement, but like, what do we want?
So I would think, but that might be for a discussion for another day, is that maybe in terms of parcels that might be, come on the market or be available or something, so that, or parcels that are coming out of a agricultural restriction or something that I still think it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a separate list of ones that the Open Space Committee feels are particularly important, because it's really hard when there's, say, 300 to
Give it top 10?
Yeah.
I agree, they're 2 separate issues.
Yeah, so if I can address that, first of all, it's not 300.
Well, I couldn't, there was a lot.
Right, so, I mean, just so anyone listening to this knows what we're talking about. The state requires in the open space plan that we inventory all open space in town and then differentiate between what's already permanently protected of that open space and what's not. And of the open space that is not permanently protected, we're asked to evaluate it for its importance in terms of possible active or passive recreational use. And we have a grid system by which we evaluate these unprotected parcels on probably 6 or 7 criteria. And going forward, we're going to be adding another one for how it contributes to making the town more climate resilient. And I think what you're asking us to do is to put together a 1 to 10 list of the most important unprotected parcels. Is that what you're saying?
Or I don't know, I suggested 20, but whatever the number is versus the significantly larger number that the state is looking for. I think this doesn't have to be done immediately, but I think it would be helpful for going forward because there is always a time constraint on making a decision on these kinds of things.
Right. So first of all, it's outside the scope of the open space and recreation plan that we're working on right now.
Right. Now I see.
Could it be a sidebar?
It could certainly be a sidebar, but many of the members that are here today from the Open Space Committee, including Wendy and myself, went to Greenbelt's second land conference, a conservation conference, which was held last Saturday in Haverhill at the new University of Lowell building. And Wendy asked one of the speakers, well, I'll let Wendy speak for herself on the question of having a priority parcel list.
Yes, this was Representative Greenbelt, and I just asked how they approach land conservation purchases, whether they had a large list of all the ones they're interested in, or whether they kept a smaller list to try to focus. And he felt it was better to have a larger list because a lot of it is time sensitive and situation sensitive. So you may have your 5 lists, but then another parcel becomes available next to it, which makes another parcel suddenly more important. So it's very fluid. So he felt that it was limiting to approach it that way.
Do you think it could be used, a priority list like that could be actually even used against you or against the open space? Because I can see that happening. And so hypothetically, forget about what the actual numbers are. So say we have 100 parcels that are open space, and then and for some reason you prioritize 15 of them, but just say 67, even though that's not becomes available, and then all of a sudden, well, that's not part of your priority. That wasn't part of the 120 priority. Why are we dealing with that anyway? Well, because of this, and it actually could be used against us if it's lower on the ranking, and it's actually fluid in some cases.
Yeah, so the Open Space Committee has never ranked parcels. I mean, we had a list that we used to call priority parcel, but it was certainly not ranked 1 through 10 or 1 through 30 or anything like that. It was a different name for the very same list that we really have now. The list may be a bit larger now because of the scope of the request by the state that we inventory all valuable, existing, privately owned, valuable open space. So I don't disagree, Glenn. I mean, I guess you could turn a priority parcel list against us when we come and say, well, we want to save such and such a parcel, and you say, well, it's it's not important. But then again, the higher valued parcels are not for sale, so it really is beside the point.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so I would actually nix that, and maybe whatever. I would personally. That's my own view. That we asked them. I think we said that not to try to do anything, but we thought it would be a good function. At least I thought it would be a good function in understanding what a priority parcel is and what it's not and stuff like that. I actually thought it would be good to understand that. But now I'm understanding that actually isn't good for the reasons why you said. So I wouldn't ask you to prioritize.
Well, we'd be happy to meet with you and go through the whole list one by one whenever you want to.
I was on that committee with you a long time ago to try to figure this out. I'd rather whack myself with a hammer. Okay.
Okay, I had
any more, Archie?
Yeah, I had a few specific relatively minor questions or criticisms. One of the ones was talking about it was on it was page 2, and the page, I'm not being vague. It was certainly was page 2 of 18, and page 2 of, it was this was, I believe, page 2 out of the 30-page set, and it said that the Open Space Committee felt we should definitely work towards a surface water protection plan, because we were kind of talking about that related to the reservoir. And that the West Newbury voters should do that. Well, in the context of Newburyport isn't giving us anything for the reservoir, so why should we go out of our way to protect the reservoir if they won't give us any? It's always been kind of a bone of contention, and I think that we should maintain that as a carrot for them in case. I think we need that. If you want us to do so, if we want to get something from them, that's something that we can offer them. I don't think we should unilaterally give them surface water protection without us getting something back from the city of Newburyport.
Right, that's been the historic reason why we don't have one, as I understand it. But we drink water from that reservoir as well. It's not just something that Newburyport wants. I mean,
I agree with that.
Right. So I mean, I think it's something that's in the interest of the West Newbury people on the water supply as well. And the surface water protection, I think, would apply to surface waters besides just the surface waters of the Indian Hill Reservoir.
Merrimack River?
Yeah. So it goes beyond just a water question and water rate question. I think it's a bigger question.
I still don't want to give that away without getting something back.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's a town policy issue, but I think from the open space perspective, it's something that that we would like to advocate for.
This just might be a typo, but it said that just for the sake of accuracy in your report, it said that home values increased 22% per year on parcels next to a open space versus parcels not. That can't be right. 22% a year. That seems.
Yeah, if it says that, it's probably not accurate. But I remember the 22% number, and that was derived from a source which I think is quoted in the section.
I know,
but we'll check it.
Yeah,
I agree. We'll check it.
Could it be over a period of years rather than annually? That does seem
We'll
like.
check it. It's a good question.
Could have stopped buying some land next to open space. Good investment.
I think it was for land within 2,000 feet of open space, right? It was not necessarily for land contiguous to, but land within a certain.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
but it was comparing that versus a
Not open space.
And that was like 17%, and that also seemed too high. So I think there's a decimal point missing there,
we'll
or
check
maybe it's over 15 years or something. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
That was on page 6. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I did have a problem. There was a report about the town meeting and what the discussion about the solar field, and it seemed there were a lot of words there that were, it was not a report like they were, to me, editorialized, because, for example, the such and such went down to a resounding defeat, and historically cavernous meeting space was overflowed. It was just sort of like, this wasn't correct kind of reporting it in a state document to me. It was a polemic. I have a problem sending that to a state agency. So you might want to look at that. That's on page 9 and page 10 of the 30-page section. And, this was the final blow against such and such. It's just not appropriate.
I don't disagree, but I could add that the Open Space Committee had differing, pretty much split opinions on that, so.
But
It goes both
shouldn't it be
ways.
coming out of the...
language is not appropriate in the report.
They're not.
Well, somebody was just showing off their English 101 skills from...
No, you gotta read.
No, I read it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, any question if Archie's read this or not?
No,
I don't-
it's great. It's great.
Okay.
Final one on, there was a discussion of the meeting that took place on September 19th. There was a,
The forum.
About open space, correct. And, two things that there were, there was mentioned that people did bring up, climate change, resilience, but people also brought up, use of renewable energy and low-income housing, that people wanted that as part of the mix in the town. And those two items were definitely brought up at the meeting, and those were deliberately not mentioned, that they were not in the report, that they had been mentioned by people at the meeting.
Is there a reason for that? Because they actually have nothing to do with open space? And
It was definitely not deliberate. I mean, we kept a chart. I mean, they were recording. You were there, right, Archie?
Right.
Yeah. And we tried to very carefully log all the comments that were made, so it was an oversight if that was omitted.
Okay.
Well, you said sustainable energy?
Well, renewable energy.
affordable housing?
And, affordable housing.
I mean, those are both really important things, so I
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't have intended to.
Anything else, Archie?
No, that's about it.
No, like I said, I did my comment
So,
last week.
my comment goes back to, you said you're meeting with Bill Bacharach. Obviously, he's a representative of Park and Rec. So, you're meeting with him, and he's bringing forward a consensus from that board, or are you meeting with him as an individual, and he's giving you his opinion about Park and Rec? You understand what I mean by that? Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, Bill's the chairman, as you know, and I'd
Well, I understand
also,
that, but you know what I mean? So he can't speak unless there was a public meeting that was posted and there were votes taken and giving you comments about whatever. He can't be speaking for Park and Rec. He only can be speaking for his individual self. You know what I mean? So that's
do.
that's
So
what I want to
don't-
make sure that vision is coming from the committee, not one individual. No
Well,
matter who it is, and it has nothing to do against Bill or anything, but I just want to make sure
okay,
that.
so similar to the email I sent to you asking for, you know, the totality of your comments, I sent a similar email to Bill saying it's been flagged for us that the selectmen don't think there's enough meat in the active recreation section. You know, I never heard that from Bill directly, so I asked that he comment and give us his comments as soon as possible on the plan overall. So whether I assume he's speaking on behalf of his committee.
Say it again?
I assume he will be speaking on
But if
behalf
you
of
could
his
just make sure
committee.
that's clarified, so I would hate for something to get into a report that everybody thinks it's being spoke on behalf of a committee, which it really isn't.
I
That's
mean, I
all.
would have to say, we sent this to almost all committees in town, and we are not making sure that their responses represent the whole committee. We're relying on them to do their job as chairman or representatives,
Gotcha.
you know.
That's well taken.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
Bill wrote quite a bit for the first draft that we've
Mhm.
incorporated comments, so.
Okay. And nothing against Bill, but okay, fine. Okay, anything else? Thank you.
I would,
Thank you for all the work, does a lot of work.
just process-wise,
The work,
I did ask, Pat and I spoke last week, and I wanted to just clarify the process, and she said that once they've received all the comments, that the board will receive an updated draft prior to its final approval?
Yeah, we were actually spending some time tonight upstairs this afternoon, talking about how to get that redraft back to you, and hopefully doing it in some red line fashion so that you wouldn't have to read the whole thing
Definitely.
over again.
That's very helpful to us.
There was a final part at the end. Do you need like it said like a accompanying letters from the selectmen or planning board or something? Do you need, is there some kind of
Form letter?
boilerplate that we have used before, or should we draft something, or what do you need for that?
Yeah, I think when Marley sent the request to Mary, the form letter that has been used in 2009 was with it. But if you don't have it, we can certainly send you a copy. So you don't have to make up a new letter.
So that's good enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Ellen, did you have something to say? You had your hand up, but then now it's not up. Yeah, I mean, Jean Lambert, Ellen, sorry. Hold on, you gotta use the microphone. Sorry. No, I'm sorry about it.
I have been through several plans, and I've been on the committee forever, I think. But I just wanted to say that this is the first plan where the Park and Rec has really been brought into it. The plan says open space and recreation, but this is the first time, I think, and that's due to the efforts of Marley and Patricia reaching out to open space to make sure they really have input, and John Dodge did too earlier. I mean, we always have reached out, but even though this has recreation, they haven't, been equal partners in this. It's really been the open space taking the burden of compiling this document.
Good, thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And Archie definitely gets the award for reading this. Okay, where are we at? So we have to go back one. Continue discussion of funding for the new school and potential prepayment of town share. Angus?
Okay, so you had previously reviewed the model. There's all the backup in there. I don't know if you want to get into discussion of that tonight, but it's there for you, informational, if you have questions on it. And then the other item on this agenda item was the request that had come from the board's prior discussion to look into whether it would be feasible for the town to essentially prepay its share. And so we have investigated that potential option, and in a nutshell, the bond counsel and the bond agent have advised that they wouldn't recommend that.
Didn't we already do that? No, I thought we did it on a middle school project. We did.
paid it all. We paid it on the free cash.
We didn't borrow it, we used
Oh,
cash.
okay, it wasn't partial, it was full.
I, just for curiosity, I ran the numbers, and suppose the district got a 30-year note at 5%, and we paid our portion of that, or we got a 30-year note and were able to get it at 4%, we would save over $5 million in interest over the course of that 30 years.
If you could get it, yeah.
If we could get it. I mean,
If we can't get it,
it seems significant. I don't know if we could beat the district's interest rate by 1%, but if we could, that's how much we could save. It's over $5 million. It's simple, just running the numbers.
So, can you say what they said again?
Sure.
Did they say we don't suggest it, or we can't do it?
Well, let me...
Those are two different...
This is a detailed response, but I'll tell you what they have advised. So, they advised that even though the town could legally bond individually, they advised against it due to the following complicating factors. We would need to renegotiate the intermunicipal agreement with Pentucket, because the agreement the town currently has cedes the borrowing to the school district. Second, the yearly assessment for the cost of debt is recalculated annually based on enrollment. The town could find that the yearly bond payment would not reflect the current enrollment and could result in a long-term discrepancy. Three, if we did bond separately, there will be a need to make an agreement with Pentucket on who has the authority to sign contracts for the project. Fourth, it is very unlikely that there would be any cost savings in issuing separate debt. The town would incur additional bond costs and attorney fees. General market rates, timing of projects, and size of project are all determining factors, not just the town's bond rating. And finally, and I think this one to me was perhaps among the most compelling, it was also discussed there would be timing problems with the issuance of the bonds. The town would need to go out to bond at the beginning of the project to cover the town share, while the school would issue short-term debt during the project and go out to bond at the end of the project. Another timing complication will be the allocation of SBA funds from the state, which is calculated at the end of the project.
It was a good question to ask.
Well, and it's not, I did say, if there's follow-up questions that go beyond what I can respond to, we don't need to, we can continue to press, but that was what we've got so far.
But Joe made a good point. I don't necessarily think that it didn't violate the agreement when we did it before, that's all I can say.
Yeah, but it wasn't, we paid our full share. That was the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark, did you want to speak? Did you have a comment?
I just had a question about this. Two questions. One is, have you investigated hedging? Because you can buy an interest rate contract to try to lock in long-term rates. The town can buy an asset, which is essentially an interest rate insurance policy. And it can be custom-made in the capital markets with a cost for a particular amount of money at a term, and it's tied to a particular interest rate index, and it is an asset of the town. It is not something which has to be brought into the Pentucket Borrowing Authority or other things. It's something that's on the town's balance sheet, and interest rates, when the town goes to issue, it would provide you with a hedge. So I just wondered if you had talked to anybody in your municipal banking relationships about that. There are expert bond people who are residents of the town. The investment committee has met with some of them, and I'm aware that there are some other folks who are quite expert in this. It's a capital markets transaction, so the idea of being able to preserve low rates is a really good one, and there are ways to do it that don't involve actually going out and borrowing the money. You can buy it's essentially an interest rate contract. So that was one question. The other question is more sort of, just because I don't understand how the process works. I assume that the town would not enter into such a thing until it was clear that there was an agreement among the various towns to enter into the entire project. I mean, isn't one of the major concerns that we have essentially, we're in a position to be much more supportive of a large construction project for Pentucket than our affiliated towns.
Correct.
And my question is, or I guess my comment would be, you would never want to buy such an interest rate contract if you didn't know the whole project was going to be going forward.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I assume that's the way you guys are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not advocating for this interest rate contract thing. I'm just saying there's some questions that you can ask, and there are complex issues around risk associated with these, because rates can go against you as well. You could spend, I'm going to make up numbers, you could spend $150,000 to buy a hedge, and it could work in your favor and save you a lot of money over the borrowing period. Or if rates go in a way that makes the hedge less valuable, you lose your $150,000. So it's not a sure thing, but it's worth thinking about as an alternative to an actual borrow. So,
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to take off. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for coming in, Lark. So, Mike, I'm sorry, thank you.
One other point is that if Pentucket borrows the money, the district, it doesn't go against the debt limitation of the town. But if you borrowed it separately, it would. Now, our debt limitation is 5% of the equalized value, which as of today is about $47 million. So, obviously, we're not anywhere close to that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had $25 million of it,
would be a lot closer.
Then we'd have to, we hopefully would never need
Mm-hmm.
to go beyond that, but.
Well, the other thing is though, if the district defaulted, they would certainly come after
Us.
They would come after us.
But it doesn't apply. If the the district borrows the money, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't apply to that limit, right.
Right.
Okay, anything else on that?
Just,
Thank you.
if you'd like
Yeah, that answers
to look
all
into
the
it further.
No, I don't think so. You
Okay.
don't want to look at it further, do you? Do you feel comfortable with?
The Investment Policy Committee does meet in January. They have a meeting, I believe, the 16th. So we could put it to them to chew on if you thought that was worthwhile.
If it could, you know, it's
Okay.
worth, you
Yes.
know, if it was to save 50,000, I'd say no, but if we could save 5 million.
I would agree,
it's
but it doesn't
not
seem
worth
like-
at least checking on.
Okay,
Yeah.
ready?
Yep.
You mind?
No?
You mind? Okay. Now, the other portion of this was this model, correct?
Yep.
You gave me the backup. So, there's a lot of speculation in this model,
Mhm.
right? Don't you think? Can you explain it, Joe? This is kind of, we're assuming that a lot of things have to happen at town meeting, and that have to be voted a certain way for this whole model to work. Do you feel that? Do you feel that?
I'm not sure I'm following what you're saying. There's a lot of assumptions in it.
That's what I mean, there's a lot of assumptions.
Well, we don't know the amount that the project is gonna be, so it's just,
Well, I think that's the least amount of it. I mean, I understand that, but we kind of could guess at that as much, but,
yeah, we don't know our share, we don't know any of it.
Yeah, but Glenn, we
This is
will never know what percent of what the census is in 7 years from now. It's going to happen.
Well-
That's a variable that cannot be predicted.
I would agree with that.
The intent of this, the only intent of this was to let people know that the medium, single-family tax impact is not gonna be $900 to $1,000. It's gonna be in the 500 range, approximately, based on a lot of variables. That was the only intent of this.
Okay, so, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands there's a lot of variables here, and that,
Well, the numbers will change. This is just a projection. These will not be the numbers.
okay? I was just nervous about that. If that gets out to the public, I
Well,
don't feel comfortable.
it says right up on top, Pentucket has not voted a final building cost. Numbers will change. This is only a projection, a potential projection,
Okay?
based on Pentucket's published amounts.
Well, and other things too. We're assuming that, town meeting will vote a certain way on a bunch of these things to make this whole model work, aren't we?
Well, yes, we are assuming that they will continue to fund this as we have in the past, yes.
Yeah,
And
that stabilization.
Yeah, that is in here, yes. Yep. That's true.
Otherwise, yeah, that's a good question, Glenn, but.
No, but I know, it's just, not
Yeah.
even a question, but it's a concern that I want to make sure that, you know, that could go down 1 year. And then, so this whole thing, this model's gone.
Right. Yep.
Okay. That's all. You know what I mean? It's just that there's a lot of variables.
In other words, the amount of gray and the amount of white might change, but the total's gonna be the same.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
No, that's what all I'm talking about, is the white and gray. Because we're assuming that town meeting's gonna vote a certain way throughout this thing.
It does say that assumption, yes.
Yeah, okay. That was my only concern. Okay. Discussion of CPC timeline of annual town meeting projects proposals. Angus?
It's purely informational. It's not my expectation that this board intends to initiate any CPC proposal, although if you were, tonight would be the time to give me some heads up on that. But as well, I wanted, just for the general public, to understand that the timeline to submit CPC proposals is closing. Basically, they've got their December meeting and their January meeting, and then that'll be it.
Okay. Do we see anything that we want to? Pumpkin launcher. He's on that list that we're. Yeah. Okay. Next.
Okay, the next item is I'm requesting that the board designate my office as essentially your agent in terms of, this board is the designated monitoring agent to ensure compliance with the affordable housing restrictions for the Fallensby Lane project. And we have had a assertion come in of alleged violation. We've asked for more information, and we're looking into that. So just in terms of, because this board only meets every couple of weeks and has a quorum, it might be better to just designate my office as the enforcing agent. Obviously, if there was any enforcement action taken, that would be presented to the board.
So hypothetically, you can't use it as a rental unit, and there's been some talk that it's being used as a rental unit, and that would be a violation, and we're the monitoring agents, and we're supposed to do something about it, and it would be just a lot easier if we designate you, so you'd be able to follow through. Got it.
Yeah, the complaint came in, we want to be responsive.
Yep, okay, so moved. Anybody want to make that?
I move to designate the town manager as the affordable housing monitoring agent.
For the local incentive program, LIP units on Collinsville Lane.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Acceptance of minutes dated October 29th. Archie? Thought you had some,
give me 20 seconds here.
Joe?
Here's what it was, on page 5, section H, maybe, if you recall, we were talking about, the weather and whether we wanted to go along with what the governor said versus what.
We're not bringing this.
No, but I think that the motion here is, unless I'm reading, I think it's.
Move to accept the changes to the policy as proposed by town manager and to include notification to the selectmen.
Yeah, that's correct. We did not do anything with the governor or anything like that.
But it says as the proposed, to accept the changes to the policy as proposed.
By the town
So
manager?
you need probably the backup in this, so you understand what the changes were that.
No, I thought we weren't going along with the governor thing.
We're not.
We're not,
We're not.
okay.
That's what
That's
what that says.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Angus, aye, of the town manager's update.
Okay, as you know, there's been an objective for some time to set up a joint meeting among the 3 boards of selectmen within the Pawtucket region, and seems like the direction that that's taking is the superintendent has offered to host a meeting. One of the major items that they would like to advance is this discussion of contingency planning in the event that a facility becomes unavailable, but also obviously there's the question of the school and just sharing information on the school building project. So we're looking for basically to coordinate a bunch of schedules. So
Are you asking us for dates?
Well, I guess what I would ask you, and you could do it as a follow-up to this meeting, to send me any dates in January that you're unavailable other than the selectmen meeting nights, which obviously I know you're unavailable. But I've gotten some suggested dates from Groveland.
Are they Mondays?
What are they?
They prefer to meet on their off Mondays. She suggested January 14th, and we do not have a meeting scheduled that night. I have not heard back from Carol McLeod. She was on vacation last week, and I'm sure was buried today.
That's it. Okay. Okay, next, well, he's looking up the 14th.
Okay. Next item, so we've purchased a large monitor to facilitate presentations. That'll tie in wirelessly and wired through the AV, so it will be a very crisp picture for those viewing from home. So we've come up with 2 potential layouts, and you see the painter's tape is illustrating where it could be installed. I suspect they set this higher because the chairs were here. I don't think they would be actually set this high.
What, those?
Yeah.
No, I think that's.
You think that's right? You don't think that's too high?
Now, just as a space person, that one looks a lot bigger than this one. That one looks a lot
Mike,
bigger.
is
It
the
does.
light interfering with the top of that, or no?
Yeah.
Doesn't that one look bigger than this one?
images this minute, when you're closer to it.
It kind of does to me too, but I didn't,
That one looks taller than this. I'm a pretty good Facebook, but, I don't know. Okay, we want it there, we want it there, I want it here. Second question. Have we looked into which one's easier to wire? So I would assume we have to, just so you understand, we have to run a wire down to that room in the basement to get it on the TV. So that right there is already a track for the camera to go down, and it goes down somewhere down over there somewhere. So obviously, if we put it here, that we would have to run a track somewhere, or we would have to drill something through and snake it down through the floor, I would assume.
So the only question that I would have on the location is, no matter where it is, that it's not like in back of somebody's, it's like, how do you see it? I mean, it'd be very awkward to have to use it and go, if it was Angus, as an example, to come and sit on the other side. Like, just put it in a place where everyone can look at it, wherever that is.
But I don't think there is a place. We're gonna have to move for a presentation. So I would assume that this would be the best place to do it.
Or the table would have to move, this table.
All right, I'm not getting into home furnishings, but I'm just saying that every time we've always had a presentation, basically the selectmen would move, or we'd move around and do something.
Well, it's not true. I mean, he had, that screen up last week, right here.
I'm just saying that, my personal opinion, us moving over to there for a meeting isn't a big deal for a presentation. Or do you see it being used as a tool where it's gonna be interactive? It's not like we're gonna sit there for a period of time, watch a presentation, turn the lights back on, and then come back here and have the discussion. Are you looking to, this would be more an interactive thing, that you could be doing a presentation, we're looking at it, talking in it, and doing it at the same time?
The finance committee is looking at the budget, we're looking at the budget, we're talking, so, like, in that case, our backs would be to who we're talking to.
But, Joe, see the size of it?
Yeah.
Okay. It goes there, or it goes there, or, is it too big to put on a, pivoting thing? You know, like mine at the house
I
comes
think so,
out
yeah.
and goes around.
Yeah, it weighs about 160 pounds.
I was gonna say, it looks like a small Volkswagen
Yeah,
downstairs.
yeah, it's
Okay, so what would you suggest?
I don't care. The only thing I care about is to not have anybody's back to it, that's all. Where it goes, I don't care.
But you're saying something that's unrealistic. Where's the electric?
An electrician's gonna be brought in to extend wiring.
But I think you're saying that's something unrealistic, so because what you should say is that, come back with a proposal with a reconfiguration of the room and the chairs, because I think, what I'm saying is, the way it sits right now, you made that earlier, the way it sits right now, it's impossible. So, we're gonna have to.
Well, that's what you've got in front of you, is a couple of different,
Yeah, other than putting this thing somewhere.
Have you looked at that?
yeah, so the scenario 2 basically has it up there, has this big table rotating 90 degrees, so this board would be facing out, and this table would be kind of diagonal there, so the public would be sitting out there facing this way, so when something's presented, everybody's looking kind of sideways.
Okay.
The only downside to that I see, and I don't think it's a huge problem, but just to make you aware, the length of this table, when it's up against this wall, pretty much goes to this side of this door. So in order for somebody, the board member sitting down this side, you'd have to have it out far enough that they would exit behind the board. They couldn't go around that side.
So like a little bit more than this.
Yep. But I think that configuration, I think works well, but it's a change, and so I don't want to do this and then find we did it wrong, so that's why we're here. So, of course, the board could delegate the decision to the Cable Advisory Committee.
Guess who that is? Only one person on that committee, that's me. This is the kind of stuff that drives me absolutely insane, because I don't care. Just make it work. That's what we hired you for.
And that's fine, I just, it's, you know.
Saying surprise me.
I don't care.
I think that's.
I think you heard from me, you heard from Joe, I think I kept on going, well, Joe, you can't have that, but then I realized, oh, no, you can move the chairs around, I should have realized that. But, do you care?
No, these are the kinds of questions that when my wife says, let's try the couch over there. No, oh, God, kill me now.
And it breaks up the bourbon. Okay,
With this table, here, let's try this.
let's try, yeah, move it here. It's never the light little chair, it's always, the thing that's made out of real wood. Review the layout options, okay, review and confirm selectmen's meeting schedule early, 2019.
First half.
Yeah, we actually ran it through the first half of the year, so.
Yes.
Any questions, concerns? Not, good?
Yeah, usually there's a moderator meeting between the 18th of March and the 1st of April.
Okay,
You did say, the 14th, if we could meet with the other boards.
Yep.
That was one of the days we had picked to do,
oh,
the chief
Police chief.
meeting. I mean, we could change it.
did they give you any more?
Dates from, Groveland? She just said Mondays, off Mondays work. And it sounds like their board's on the same schedule that we're on.
So let's see, before we beat this thing, why don't we hear, from Merrimack too?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, seems like off Mondays work for us too,
Okay.
but maybe starting later in January.
When you were saying give dates that don't work,
Mhm.
are you talking Monday through Thursday dates that don't work, or what are you talking about?
I am, but I think, my goal had been to hear from, Merrimack today. I didn't, so I think that I can pitch the 14th to them. If that works, great. And if it doesn't, why don't I just farm some dates around by email and we'll do it that way.
Because we had that as a tentative, thing to start. The chief.
Right.
But that's only one day, isn't it?
Okay. Next,
You want to add that one date to this?
it's the moderator, where we meet with the moderator and go over all the articles and stuff, that's not in the schedule that you gave to us.
Yeah, we'll add that. We'll,
Okay. Anything else, Joe, on that? Archie? No?
Not on the days, so.
Okay. Follow up on meeting assignments. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, is it all? Is that everything? Okay, placing things on future agenda. Archie?
I'd like to have a generator update at the next meeting.
Okay. Paid school generator, that it is. Joe, do you have anything?
And did we come to any resolution on inviting,
dignitaries?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they've all been invited.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
to the bicentennial.
Yes, Mike? We're very busy.
The Energy Advisory Committee has gotten its report back from its grant for a campus microgrid. They went over it tonight and they're speaking with the consultant on Friday. So sometime in January, they probably want to be able to give the report to the select.
Okay.
In 5 minutes or less.
You just tell Mr. Parker that.
I can't even understand what it is.
We'll get you the report, you can read it through.
Okay,
I mean,
well, we'll
you
wait.
like to read the reports, aren't you, so.
We'll wait
good with you.
with bated breath for that.
But that's January.
Okay. Anything else?
The Energy Advisory Committee may or may not be seeking authorization to submit a grant. I've advised them.
Different grant?
A different grant. So I've advised them if they do, they need to seek this board's approval.
So, one thing, do you mind if we have a little brief discussion on this? Real brief.
Okay.
But One thing, one of the reasons why we always ask for approval of grants, because they were a little bit not out of control, but we started this years and years and years ago, was because we wanted to make sure what the total impact of the town was on the grant, and it was more like,
If there's any unintended costs that they didn't.
yeah, but you know what? I think we need to put in that part of the equation, when they apply for this grant, what are their expectations? Not theirs, but anyone's, any committee. What are their expectations of the town helping them fill out the grant? You know what I mean? Because I always just assume when they say, hey, we're applying for a grant, I said, wow, that's terrific. It's a volunteer thing. They're doing it on their own. And all of a sudden,
It becomes an added burden.
on like 2 or 3 individuals in town, and we didn't even realize that. And then we were asking for something, and they're going, well, you told this Energy Advisory Committee, and I'm not picking on them, you told the ABC Committee that they could do this grant, and the deadline's next Thursday, so I had to put 2 people on it, and we have to get it finished. So there needs to be a little bit of discussion like, hey, that sounds terrific, but what the heck is it all about? We never took that approach too, you know what I mean?
Well, especially if this particular one hasn't been done before. Yeah, some are related.
But I'm not
annual
picking on
reports,
one, you know what I'm talking
yeah.
about? I just want to keep that in the back of our head when we're talking to these individuals when they come in for grants, that, hey, what's your expectation on how much help you're gonna get from us? Well, I can see it taking 25 hours by first, you know what I
And we
mean?
end up getting $3,000 and it costs $10,000 in
Yeah, support.
support time.
Okay.
So, other items for future agendas is, discussion of mailbox policy. It's that time of year, in terms of plows. The discussion of traffic safety at Georgetown Road and Crane Neck Street, we've got our...
When do we want that?
I think I've told staff we'll be ready in January 7th, so I'm penciling that in for January 7th.
Okay.
Continued review of open space rec plan.
The will still be under the snow next month. It'll be like in March when they
Just
fall,
OSRP.
they see them, that's what we have to do.
Review of comments received regarding the Mill Pond Management Plan. We've asked for comments back by the end of the year from the various committees. And then finally, on the Middle Street Bridge, an update including Newbury Port's put a proposal on the table regarding the elevation of the bridge. I got something this afternoon. We have a site visit tomorrow morning, so I can share that to you, and I made it clear I cannot give an opinion on behalf of the town. That's something this board's going to need to review.
Why, were they looking for an opinion from you tomorrow?
No, I just wanted to make
Make sure
sure,
that
I
you-
got back, I've taken a look at this is how we're gonna go about it, so.
Just so you know, I went, when it was really rainy the other day, I went around with a tape measure and to see what would happen if they raised the dams. And down by, the Indian Hill Reservoir, for example, if they raise the dam, 2 feet, so if the water level would come up 2 feet, the water level would be within, about a foot of the bank, on the sort of, by the Cherry Hill area, that side. And along, Moulton Street, it would be only about 1.5 feet from the level of the road, so the whole road would be undermined, so just so they know that. The other bridge at Rogers Street is actually higher. I thought it was, I didn't realize it was higher. It's much higher than you would.
What about the dam, by 113?
Well, that's what they would have to raise.
Right, but that's, yeah.
So what I would say is that we have, we're not really sure, but there's a lot of concerns that we have, Angus, I want to think, about our well field, about roads being compromised and flooded, and a host of other issues that would be, happening to our town because they want to...
Right. Well, tomorrow morning site walk will include myself, our new DPW director, water superintendent, and the water commission. So as well as a number of people with Newburyport and their engineers. So.
Anything else?
Nope.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, guys.